I never thought a quiet evening could turn my whole life upside down. When the single dad I worked with mentioned his boss wanted to see me, I assumed it was about work. Instead, I received a private dinner invitation, marked confidential, with no explanation at all. I almost didn't go. Something about it felt risky, unexpected, and far too personal to ignore. She was powerful, confident, and clearly used to getting what she wanted. Over dinner, the conversation drifted from work, to life, to family, and to things I had never shared with anyone at the office. The mood felt warm, but tense, like something important was being left unsaid. I couldn't tell if she was testing me or protecting a secret much bigger than I imagined. Then, without warning, she took me to meet her parents. I barely had time to process what was happening before she smiled, held my hand, and introduced me as her partner. A couple just like that. No warning, no agreement, no escape. I stood there, frozen, her parents watching closely, waiting for my reaction. And in that moment, I realized this dinner was only the beginning, and whatever game I had stepped into, there was no turning back now. Her parents smiled politely, but their eyes studied every move I made. Her mother asked how we met, and before I could speak, she answered for both of us, spinning a story that sounded practiced and careful. I nodded along, feeling like an actor who had walked onto the wrong stage. The single dad from work crossed my mind, the way he trusted me, the way this whole situation suddenly felt unfair and dangerous. Later that night, she finally explained a little. Her family expected perfection, a stable relationship, someone appropriate. She said introducing me as her partner was easier than fighting endless questions. I wanted to ask why me, why now, but the words stayed stuck in my throat. There was something in her voice that sounded desperate, not cruel. At work the next morning, everything felt different. Whispers followed us down the hallway. The single dad noticed the tension immediately, his expression shifting with concern. I avoided his eyes, afraid of what he might already know. The secret dinner was no longer a secret, and I was trapped between loyalty, ambition, and a lie that was growing fast. Every message from her felt urgent, every look from her parents felt heavy, and deep down, I sensed this story wasn't about romance at all. It was about control, expectations, and a choice I hadn't agreed to but might soon be forced to make. The pressure followed me everywhere. At work, her presence felt heavier than before, like every decision I made was being watched. When she spoke to me, her tone was calm, professional, but her eyes carried questions she never asked out loud. I started wondering if this fake relationship was helping her, or slowly pulling both of us into something risky. The office gossip grew louder, and with each whisper, the lie became harder to carry. From another angle, I could see the strain on her too. Her parents called often, checking in, asking about plans, hinting at future commitments. She listened in silence, then looked at me like I was the answer to a problem I didn't fully understand. At the same time, the single dad from work seemed distant. He stopped joking with me, stopped sharing stories about his child. That hurt more than I expected, and guilt settled in quietly. One evening, she asked me to join her at a family event, just for appearances. I hesitated, knowing every step deeper would make it harder to step back. Yet walking away felt just as dangerous. I began to question who really held the power in this situation, and whether I was being used or protected from something worse. As the days passed, lines blurred between truth and pretense, and the more I tried to understand her motives, the clearer it became that this secret agreement had consequences neither of us was ready to face. The turning point came sooner than I expected. Her parents announced a private dinner, something more formal this time, and made it clear my presence wasn't optional. The word future was mentioned more than once, hanging in the air like a warning. I could feel the walls closing in, the fake relationship starting to look permanent in their eyes. At the office, the single dad finally confronted me. He didn't accuse me, but his silence spoke louder than anger. He asked if everything was really as simple as it looked. I wanted to tell him the truth, to explain the secret dinner, the pressure, the lie that grew on its own. But fear stopped me. One wrong word could destroy careers, friendships, and trust. The night of the dinner, tension filled every moment. Her parents asked about moving in together, about long-term plans, about commitment. She squeezed my hand under the table, silently begging me to play along. My heart raced as I realized how far this had gone. There was no safe answer anymore then. Just as dessert arrived, her father leaned forward and said there was something important they needed to discuss. His tone changed, serious and controlled. I felt my breath catch, knowing whatever came next would force the truth out into the open, or lock me into this lie forever. Her father's words landed heavier than I expected. He revealed they already knew about the secret dinner, the rushed introduction, and even the office gossip. Someone had been watching closely. Then he added something that stunned me. They were considering a major business decision, and my role in their daughter's life could influence it. In that moment, I realized this wasn't just about family expectations or a fake relationship. It was about power, reputation, and control. She looked just as shocked as I felt. For the first time, I saw fear in her eyes, not confidence. Later that night, she admitted her parents were planning to use our relationship to send a message to their investors and partners. Stability, image, trust, all built on a story that wasn't real. The pressure shifted, and suddenly I wasn't just pretending to be her partner, I was part of a bigger strategy. At work the next day, things spiraled fast. A sudden audit was announced, and rumors spread that leadership changes were coming. The single dad from work avoided me completely now, and I sensed he knew more than he was saying. Every step I took felt watched. Every decision weighed. I started asking myself a dangerous question. If this lie collapsed, who would fall with it? And more importantly, why did it feel like walking away was no longer an option at all? The truth finally came out during a board meeting that was meant to announce the business decision. Her parents spoke confidently about trust and image, and invited me to say a few words as the partner everyone believed in. My chest tightened, and I knew this was the moment that would decide everything. I looked at her, at the faces around the table, and chose honesty over fear. I admitted the relationship started as a secret dinner, turned into a lie, and grew into something neither of us controlled. The room fell silent. Her parents were furious at first, but the damage they feared didn't happen. Investors cared more about transparency than a perfect story. The deal went through, just without the illusion. At work, the tension broke. The audit ended, leadership stabilized, and the whispers slowly faded. The single dad finally spoke to me again, disappointed but relieved to hear the truth. That conversation hurt, but it also healed something I thought was lost. Later, she thanked me for ending the lie she couldn't escape. We agreed to walk separate paths, lighter than before. Just when I thought it was over, her father called me privately. He said my honesty changed how they saw leadership, and offered me a role I never imagined. I declined. The real twist wasn't the job or the power. It was realizing that walking away, with my integrity intact, was the only ending that truly belonged to me. Walking away wasn't easy, but it felt right. In the days that followed, life slowly settled into a new rhythm. At work, people treated me differently, not with suspicion anymore, but with respect. The story of the secret dinner and the fake relationship faded into a quiet lesson about honesty and boundaries. I focused on my role, letting my actions speak louder than the rumors ever had. The single dad and I eventually cleared the air. He admitted he had felt caught in the middle, worried about his child and his job. We didn't go back to how things were before, but there was understanding. Sometimes that's enough. As for her, we exchanged a few messages. Nothing heavy, just gratitude and closure. She learned to stand up to her parents, and I learned the cost of staying silent for too long. Looking back, I realized the real conflict wasn't about power or image. It was about choice, choosing truth over comfort, choosing self-respect over approval. The key words everyone remembers: secret dinner, single dad, fake relationship. Powerful family became reminders of a moment that tested who I was. In the end, nothing dramatic remained, just a quiet sense of growth. And sometimes, that kind of ending is the strongest one of all.